It's a pleasure to follow the Speaker from the Maori Party that spoke so inspirationally about achievement and where excellence should sit. May I say, Mr Speaker, that it is a pleasure to be speaking in the first reading of the Education Amendment Bill number 2 and in doing so be part of an energetic aspirational government making a difference. And it doesn't take much to figure out the argument from the other side, because they had 9 years and left a wreck of an education system. And while we have members waxing on lyrically about what should be done, you start to understand, Mr Speaker, that they obviously weren't here during the wretched dying days of that Labor administration. They were espousing why there are changes. Now, the point I would like to make to those members over there, it's that nanny state that we're trying to unwind inside the Education Act 1998, because it were those members over there that actually mucked around and actually created chaos with that in the education system. So we've got a hard-working, busy government at the moment, improving the education system, moving it on to the 21st century. And we heard from the ACT Speaker before, there's 30% of underachievement with regards to literacy and numeracy. So this government is very focused on education. It is very focused on the importance of getting the foundation skills right. This bill goes another step further in making sure that there is a step change in achievement. Literacy and numeracy is so crucial. It's a foundation requirement. And to have good literacy and numeracy, you have got to emphasise on your students, Mr Speaker, the importance of engagement. That's why we've started with the basis of national standards. That is why we have added to that the Youth Guarantee scheme that enables 16 and 17-year-olds to be into tertiary education and to continue their ability to be able to learn and develop those skills. Unfortunately, what we find on the other side there is that a lot of the projects that are so incredibly positive coming from the government at the moment, the Labor opposition is running nothing more than obstruction. So what are we going to do in this bill, Mr Speaker? Is the next generation a step change? And the point I want to focus on is with regards to trade academies. Trade academies are very, very important, because if there is a problem we have in this country, as alluded to by the chair of the Science and Education Select Committee, Alan Peachy, the very able chair, is that we have languished when it comes around to valuing technical qualities, technical skills and trades. And in actual fact, when we look at countries that we would like to compare ourselves with in the OECD, they are a country mile ahead of us. It could be levelled at our education system over the last decade, Mr Chair, that we've had a bias towards academia. New Zealand has undervalued the trades and skills. So I'm enthusiastic about the Education Amendment Bill number 2, Mr Speaker, because that builds the framework towards the trades academies. And the trades academies are very, very important, because the trades academies is that link between the compulsory education and the tertiary interface. And one example that comes to my mind when we were going around, much as we were in government now, we were going around listening to the people 3 years ago, and the message came through quite clearly, is that unless a student can see the relevance and the purpose of education, they will invariably disengage with education, Mr Speaker. So it's with great enthusiasm that I support the Education Amendment Bill number 2, because that's what it does. With the tertiary compulsory interface and the Trades Academy, it builds up an ability to hook kids into education, because they will see the very relevance of why they need to be able to be literate and numerate. I would like to take this opportunity, Mr Speaker, just to talk about two fantastic people that assisted us in developing the Trades Academies model. That is Stuart Thompson and Stuart Middleton. and we've already seen the success emanating out of the Manukau Institute of Technology, how this really does interface with an Institute of Technology and up to 20 odd other colleges surrounding that South Auckland area. It is a great model, and it is one that we wholeheartedly support. And when I do hear comments from other members in the House saying that this bill does nothing for education, I totally disagree with this. This bill does an enormous amount about education and achievement and people realising their goals and ambition, because what it does, it values the skills and the trades and the technical ability that those people who would otherwise be considered less than achievers. So just to finish, Mr. Speaker, very positive bill. We'll enjoy working with this in the Select Committee, and it's good to see that there is a level of collegiality around this. But I'd just like to address the point around the Green member that the mention around the PTEs and not thinking about students when it comes to the overseas student category of the PTEs. It became very obvious to us that, on this side anyway, that there was a level of enticement being used by certain PTEs to attract away overseas students from those organisations that actually had committed themselves, built up a good reputation in attracting overseas students. And I believe that, Mr. Speaker, this is a very appropriate piece of legislation that will endeavour to address the seagulling that goes on around the overseas student situation, and it will reinforce those people who are prepared to back themselves and go over and build up a good international reputation. So, Mr. Speaker, it's a pleasure to support this bill during the first reading, the Education Amendment Bill number 2, and on that basis I support it and recommend the House does likewise.